go with my first guy. So these first couple guys, I was thinking we pick guys that we think are fringe 100 top 100 picks, who have a chance to go maybe third round, but are probably going to go somewhere in the fourth, maybe fifth. So the first guy I wanted to throw out there is Old Dominion tackle Nick Saldiveri. Duke and I were just talking about him off air a little bit, but when I watched his film, I kind of came at him a little reverse because I think a lot of people got exposed to him at the Senior Bowl. I didn't really watch a whole lot of Senior Bowl stuff before I got to his film, and then I went to the Senior Bowl. So, film wise, man, I just thought the refinement that he showed in pass protection really stood out. As a right tackle, and he's 6'6", about 320. Big hands, pretty decent length, tested well, all that stuff. I think on paper he looks pretty good, but man, when you watch the film, extremely skilled. I think he has really good discipline, patience, good hand usage. He was kind of toying with guys, and that's what you want to see at Old Dominion. You want to see a guy who's just on a different level. And I thought technically wise, man, he was just doing a lot of really, really good stuff that I see pros doing, at tackle. And I think he has the athletic ability and the traits to at least compete for a swing job right away and, potentially earn a starting role within a year or two. That's kind of how I see him. And, team captain as well, and checks a lot of boxes. So that's my guy that I want to throw out there right away.
He's also a guy who teams think can play center or maybe even guard. So you've got roster flexibility with him as well, which is, I mean, that's a really huge deal. When teams think you can play more than one position, that's really, really big. And some teams are going to see him as a center, but I know,
Why?
yeah, well, that's the thing. I know the teams I talk to,
Because this is
you
not the
let
first
guys,
time. That's not the
no,
first
you've
time I've
heard it
heard this.
before. Yeah,
Oh
you've heard
hell
it
yeah!
before. But you let most teams say let a guy fail as a tackle before you move him inside. There's some other teams and some other like evaluators who say, hey, if we think this is his best position, let's plug him into whatever we think the best position is. But tackle's such a valuable it's such a valuable position that I think more teams than not will give it a go at tackle for a player like him because, and I think the main thing is he's scheme flexible. So I think there's a chance. That's a really good, by the way, pick, Brandon, because I think that's a guy who is going to be somewhere within the top 115, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think he
Okay.
goes maybe in the fourth, but you never know how teams see him. And if there's a run on tackles, if somebody really loves him as a tackle, maybe you see him sneak into the latter part of the third.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, Lance, that you bring up that a lot of teams do, not a lot of teams, but there are teams that view him as a center and also guard. And for the record, I think he's a player that literally gives you position flex to play all five. I've seen him be able to line up and take sets and run fits at left tackle, at right tackle. We've worked on center. We worked on both guard positions. He's got tape at right tackle. He's got tape at center. He's got tape at guard. But, I mean, Brandon rattled off some of the physical attributes. 6'6". I think he's around 34 inches in terms of his length. Big, savvy, and in a league that really struggles to have quality tackle depth, you don't, to me, like you got to put that type of frame and that type of upside at the position that you thought he had success. And talking about centers at that size, the only center that I think currently that probably can compare to that is another guy that I had and that's now with Green Bay is Josh Myers. Josh Myers was a guy that was 6'5", 320, so that longer type center that kind of looks like a tackle, but kind of a center. And in terms of Salvadori's, the mental makeup, very high football IQ, and then he's got that swagger to him. What we talk about that can kind of command an offense if he did play center. That he believes that he's the top dog in the room, and that's kind of what you want as a center, a guy that can kind of be a field general for the other four guys. And we kind of put a piece out about that with the Big Boys Club. Some of those non-negotiables for the center and some of the things that they're asked to do. And I think he kind of checks that box. So that was a very good pick by you, Brandon.
And one more kind of tidbit that I want to throw out there, a couple more things, that I thought were interesting. The Senior Bowl, I actually thought, there was a little discomfort there inside, like you could tell, he was trying to get used to it, specifically with his anchor. I thought, when I went back and watched the Senior Bowl reps, one-on-ones, team and inside drill and stuff like that. And he hadn't really played it. He was a right tackle. I know he repped it, with you guys, but when you watch his film, he looks like a tackle, when you watch the film, I think. And then he also played in a scheme that was almost 60%, 60-40 pass run split. So they were passing the ball a lot. You got to see him in pass protection a lot. And then he was in a multiple run scheme as well. So you saw split flow zone, runs, power, counter. You got to see him do a little bit of everything. So he just checked a lot of the boxes that I like to see.
When you see him in person, he looks like an NFL tackle.
Yeah,
I mean, just his structure. He's long, square jaw, just broad shoulders, got those big ass hands. He looks like an NFL tackle.
I want to expand on that a little bit. It's funny because, you guys spend a lot of time looking at guys with that kind of body type. I mean, we all do. But I just came from Alabama, where my son was, my son's a freshman at Alabama. And so I was there for Parents Weekend. And at the hotel I was staying at, they have a spring game, right, this weekend. And so there was a dude who was walking into the, like a big guy and his family, they're walking into the hotel. And I can tell he's probably a recruit, right? And I can tell right away from his body type, he's an offensive lineman. Just right away, you can tell. And I started thinking about that because there's certain looks for defensive linemen and offensive linemen. I know they play against each other, and sometimes you'll see similar measurements, but
different dudes, though.
Yeah, they're different dudes. Like it's the same way you can have like a running back and a linebacker could be similar sizes, but there's certain things that just look different about the body types. And that's something that you were just talking about. Saldiveri, and I pronounced it right? And did I get it right? Did I pronounce it right?
Saldiveri.
Saldiveri.
Yeah.
Dude, I've looked at 500. I can't get them all right. But no, it's you were mentioning different things with him about looks and physical traits, and it's funny because people on Twitter will get all upset about people getting put in a box, but I don't think a lot of people realize and recognize there are certain things in the NFL that have been tested, tried, and true. And when you've seen it over and over and over, there's just certain types, right? And there's physical types and there's personality types. And that's why in the NFL, you're talking about how he looks. It matters to some teams. If a guy looks like an offensive lineman, if he looks like a dude, their body types, when they see them, for some, it really matters a lot. Lean muscle mass matters a lot to certain teams. Body composition and the way they carry, if a guy's high cut or split low. And I think sometimes people think that's just a bunch of bullshit, but it's really not. Like D linemen and O linemen have different looks, and it may say the same height and the same weight, but the hips and the way they carry their weight can be completely different. And I always think that's fascinating that I look at safety, I look at all the positions, but all of us watch a lot of football players, and we can look at guys and say, oh, that's this type of body type. Oh, that's that position. You can see a guy probably duke at tackle, and you think, oh, that guy's a guard. Or every once in a while, I'll see a guy at guard or center, and it's just very clearly a tackle body type. That doesn't mean he's not a good guard or center, but some guys just look like tackles.
Yeah.